Let's go. My next guest on episode 50 of The Guy Doing Things, what a milestone, woo, insert applause there, is Beatrice Goodnecht, all the way from Valencia. She's joining me online. She's a brand expert and she'll tell a bit more about herself in a moment. Welcome to The Guy Doing Things, Beatrice.
Thank you so much for having me on, Thornton.
That was a super short intro, so you can introduce yourself in a more flamboyant way if you want.
I mean, the Power Rangers Power Up didn't do it? No, I'm kidding. Yes, so in terms of what I do, it's all about perception, how businesses are seen in the market, and it's pushing back against those societal norms where we're often start off by seeing what everybody else is doing in the market, or it's easier to just see what everybody else is doing and kind of just follow that. So, but you end up following the lead and always kind of just being a little bit behind everyone else. Yeah. So it is very much about adjusting that perception and from an entire business-wide perception. So going into the operations, in the marketing, in the sales, making sure that it is a consistent vibe for the businesses that I work with.
Awesome. That's a great intro. I will dive a bit more into that. My podcast doesn't actually have a lot to do with branding. I have people from all walks of life on. But to make it more applicable to why you are on, why we met is through the creative field, through branding. But to mix what I do on the podcast and what you do, I asked you to challenge me to do something in branding. Usually the challenges scare me, but this really excited me. So I hope I did it well. I did it on Canva. I know, I don't know if it's a thing anymore, but there used to be a lot of Canva haters in the world. But if they use Adobe, they hated Canva. Maybe they still do, but I use Canva. So I'm going to share that now. So if you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, you won't be able to see this presentation, but I will try my best to present it well verbally as well. Okay. There we go. So it's a long document. I'm going to go to the part that you actually challenged me to do, not the whole thing. It feels like I'm about to give a lecture. Okay. So that's me, the guy doing things. That's just my technical things, like my fonts I chose, the filter I use, and the colors. You can see this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. This is also me, who I am. So just a little bit about myself. And in the end, I say, as a future CEO with an MBA or PhD in creative or leadership, Thornton always leaves a trail of impact wherever he goes. And I think I spelled wherever wrong. But anyway, so I want to challenge myself to do things that I would never normally do, including what you told me. So you said the challenge was pick 3 fictional characters from books that you feel fit your brand. And my brand is myself. So the first one, obviously Thor. That has to be, it has to be Thor. Because it's his fire. I think it's obviously that fire and passion. And Woody also has passion, but I feel, to me, the fire of the two fires and passions are different. So I used to use that fire for not the greatest stuff. I used to get angry very quickly, but now I just use it as a channel for fire, or channel for my passion and for what excites me. Then I don't know if you know Zero Moustache from the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
If you haven't watched that movie, go and watch it. It is amazing. It's fun. It's so cool. I love Wes Anderson. But Zero is a very determined. He's also very witty. All three of these characters are very witty, by the way. They're very sharp-witted people, and I feel that fits my personality as well. But he's a very determined lobby boy, and he wants to learn. So he's literally like always there, and I feel that really fits with me. And then Woody, he's also quite quirky, but he's an interesting leader, and I really feel he works well with the rest of the toys. He does make a few mistakes, but who doesn't, you know? But he kind of, according to me, he leads very well. So a mixture of these three, I gave, you told me to blend them as well, the second part of the challenge, to blend the three characters. Yeah. And I did that through ChatGPT, obviously, and then took it to Bing AI Creator, and I wonder if I can switch from here. No, I can't. So this this is the baby that came out of an AI creator. It doesn't look anything. It looks the most like Thor. But my prompt was...
Cowboy Thor.
A cowboy Thor, yes. With not even a moustache. So I said it's an image of a lobby boy that is also the god of thunder, but also wears a cowboy hat and cowboy attire. So not the best prompt. I think prompt engineers would throw me with rocks right now. But, and I feel like the baby of these three characters are pretty intimidating. I don't know, what do you think?
How would you describe him? Like, what would his characteristics be like as this guy?
So this guy looks extremely determined. Okay, he doesn't look like he takes crap from anybody. I think there's a bit of a fashion sense there, which I hope and believe I have most of the time, like 90% of the time. There is, yes, so the determination is a big thing for me in this case, and he looks very sure of himself. That's pretty much the characteristics that I can see from this picture, and what I hope depicts my brand. That's the thing I want to get from my brand is going into the market. I'm technically not selling anything. I'm just selling my podcast. Come and watch my podcast and read my blog. And, you know, I want to lead, educate, and inspire people. So this picture kind of really explains it in a way, in a good way to me. I don't know if I'm making any sense at all.
So, okay, we've got the very buff baby. What quirks would he have? Like,
what quirks would he have?
If you were watching a movie with him in it, what were the kind of like things that you would expect him to just show up and do?
Yeah. So this buff baby, I like the way you explain him. Once again, because the brand is it's a personal brand. It's my thing. I think his number one quirk would be to have like a tagline that he thinks is really funny, but no one else thinks it's funny. Like he'll have a slogan or a tagline like, "It's buff baby, baby," and everyone he thinks, you know, that he thinks people are gonna find very funny, but they don't. But his other quirk is like he would be very tough at the start, but then like grow. His character development would kind of become softer as he goes along, but his intention is always good. You can always like pick up his intention, no matter what his behavior is. His intention is always good. You're putting me on the spot as much as I'm putting you on the spot, so kudos for that.
I love the buff baby baby.
Buff is buff baby baby. I'm gonna change that.
I need to change your tagline and put this guy on.
I know. I was just about to say that. But so the end, the last challenge, I think this is what, like, what would the conversation with someone be? And this is what I want to achieve, just as a deeper side, what I want to achieve with my podcast and all of my communication. And that is what Buff Baby, or the mixture of those three characters, need to bring to the world. I want to motivate, I want to inspire, I want to fire people up. I want to be able to listen to people, and I want to lead them to action. I think that's the biggest things that I want to get out of my personal brand. Is it fine if I close the presentation? That's it. That's the end. The end.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we can continue
like
chatting.
I'm just going to call him Buff Baby from now on. I feel like you should have him, like, get him stenciled on the back of your wall there. That's going to be a new
Yes.
mascot.
This is a blank canvas. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, with the text at the top that says, "It's Buff Baby, baby."
Exactly. And from that, and I know I mentioned it right at the end, you can start building in quirks. So your list there at the end about like the intention, the way that you want to move forward, you could almost make that into like your values, right?
Yeah.
But like pulling deeper into those, like, okay, what does each mean? What does each actually look like in play? So rather than just simply being those words, there's an actual, like, you can visualize each of those. Right?
So those are the hubs, and then the quirks become the spokes. They become the personality, the coloring in.
Exactly. So it makes it different from other brands. Like, I'm going to pick out one thing, right? It'll make it different from other brands who want to be inspirational. Like, you know, Nike could say the same thing, right? We want to be inspirational. But what does that actually look like? That's the difference. Because it's easy to put, I want to be authentic, I want to be inspiring, I want to embrace people. On your website, these are our values. Freaking fantabulous, but that means nothing because there's 100 other brands out there that will say the exact same thing. But the thing is, like, what does that look like? And that becomes the differentiation there, or at least part of it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I'm quickly going to take a sharp turn, just because people, not necessarily brand nerds like us, that usually listen to the guy doing things about the challenges, about, you know, growing as a person, the motivation behind it. Why should normal people on the street, not that we're not normal people, but why should non-brand
superheroes?
We're Buff Baby.
I might need a tagline like that.
Yes, that's next level. Now, so why should normal people on the street think about brand or care about brand? I'm putting you on the spot there, because the normal people would go into McDonald's, buy the food and leave, where I would absolutely tear apart the packaging, the presentation of the app versus the presentation on the person's shirt versus what's on the napkin. And, you know, everyday people won't. So why should people care about brand?
So it doesn't matter what it is that you want to do in life. And I'm sure like there'll be lots of other podcasts where there's other people talking about this, but it doesn't matter what you want to do at this point, because there is so much noise, be it on social media, be it, you know, in our own lives. Like, we've got, I don't know how many chat apps, how many social media apps going. And it's a fast culture. So the things that really stick and stay in our minds are the things like that, you know, you're developing that voice, that je ne sais quoi, that's you know, that Buff baby, that, like, That's going to be stuck with me for the rest of today. I'm just saying.
I'm going to have to edit out all of the times we say buff baby baby and just make a song about it. I'm going to send it to someone who makes songs and we just go buff baby baby.
It's going to be a thing. So having something like that, regardless if you're applying for jobs, you know, there's 15 other people lined up for a job interview. How about the person with like a pink jacket, you know, that comes in full confidence, and like has a certain quirk, but they still take that interview seriously and line up with like all of the requirements. Of course, they're going to stand out more, right?
Yeah.
So understanding, okay, these are what my values are. This is what that looks like, even if it means stepping outside of yourself. And that's what I do with businesses, right? This is also going to work with personal brand. Stepping outside of yourself and pretending, calling out like 2 or 3 characters from books, TV series, movies, whatever. Pick your poison. It doesn't matter. The point is you want to be stepping away from yourself. Yeah. And that's when you're able to like point out things like, okay, you know, these are the things I agree with. Oh, but this part of that personality, that's not something like
I resonate with. Yeah. So can you, in short, am I listening correctly when you say, can I sum it up like this? Brand is psychology. Because you don't know why people like you or don't like you. And it's not about people liking you or not liking you. But sometimes we don't know why. And also sometimes we don't know why we prefer to directly walk to the, gonna name drop, to the Adidas shoes and not the Nike shoes. You purposefully pay a little bit more for the Adidas shoes because you resonate with that. The same with a personal brand. So I think you linked it extremely well. On the topic of branding being psychology, how then, if you step outside of yourself, how do you stop it from being an icky process? Because what that then actually does is, and you know, this is going to sound very crass, but it's like looking at yourself in the mirror naked. And I mean like that's just the purest form of the product. Some people wouldn't want to do that, but doing that is understanding the essence of the product, branding. How do you make that process of discovering it? This is my brand. This is what I stand for. You know, whether I'm a doctor or a cyclist or a teacher, understanding my brand means taking out the parts and looking at it like that. How do you make that process not, I think I asked it in 3 different ways now, so you have a whole question. How do you make that process less icky, or is it always going to be icky and you need to like just dive into the icky?
Before we go into that, I want to call out something that you mentioned earlier about, right at the start, about liking or not liking. Yeah. You want to have a reaction. The worst possible thing that you could have is no reaction. Yeah. If it is the same as what somebody else says, the same opinion as like 400 other people, this is not going to help you, right? So it is very much looking yourself naked in the mirror. Like it is getting into that rawness that I went through as well myself, of understanding like, hey, what does my voice look like? What do I actually stand for? Yeah. What do I value? What will I stop the conversation for and either put down my foot or actually, you know, keep on talking about because I'm so excited? Yeah. Yeah. Those things are very much like inward looking, and it's not about being cringe. It's more about understanding what you can leverage, because these things, once you know them, then you can be conscious about it when you're having interactions and lean into them.
Yes.
Right? So that people can remember you, or you can, hey, say for example, if you're in a conversation with a group of friends and somebody starts speaking and another two people start talking over them, you have that decision in that moment. Are you going to be like the rest of the group and just let it happen because we're so attuned to that? Or are you going to be like, no, wait, hang on, guys, just shut up for a second and like let that quieter person talk?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's kind of, developing yourself, right? In a way.
Yeah. No, it makes sense 100%. I think just to understand yourself, I think we can use a lot of jargon now. We can use finding your niche and being authentic and all that type of stuff. But I think people, I am afraid of doing that sometimes, because you're like, okay, the version of me that's me, sometimes 5 out of 10 people are going to like that version. And I'm more upset with the 5 people not liking that version, that I kind of present a hybrid version of who I am to the world. And that kind of sucks, because now I'm like, this is embarrassing to tell, but I am going to tell it just to show how inauthentic my brand was, my personal brand. And I also don't want to use the word my personal brand. Anyway, there's a lot of cringy words that we're going to say today.
Just my brand, but who I am.
Yes, it's who I am. And I was in Denmark in 2018. We were there for 3 weeks. And then by the end of the 3 weeks, when one Danish person talked to me, I replied, and I spoke in a Danish accent. And my sister was like, what happened there? And I was like, what do you mean, what happened? What do you mean? And my personality shifted to be like, okay, maybe it's because you hear the accent the whole time. Or maybe it was just me being so like chameleon-y to change the accent. And that sucked. So hopefully I don't do that anymore. Or if I do it, it's a complete accident. But because we just spoke about accents offline, the South African accent, it doesn't sound too, no, it sounds cool. I'm going to say it. It sounds cool. But it gets mocked because you're like, we use our T's and our R's and like this. And I usually changed the way I spoke to sound different or to sound better, which is BS. I sound the way I sound, and this is me. What are your thoughts on that? That was me monologuing now for a while, but what are your thoughts on that? I was very vulnerable now. Oof.
I love it, but I'm going to say that is actually, and I've read into this is something that we subconsciously do because we've been back from like Stone Age of everything. Like it's very much mirroring other people.
Yeah.
And that includes the accent, includes the way that we say things. So if we're listening to someone for long enough and like, we like them, that sort of thing, there will be things that we pick up from them. And I've done it so many times, and it's probably part of the reason as well why my accent isn't fully Australian, fully like any specific thing. Maybe I've just picked up all these different things, and the way that I speak as well. Like,
yeah,
the words that we use, we've taken from all these different places and incorporated it into us. And that doesn't make it any less us. It just makes our experience fuller.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I
it's
think
not necessarily,
that's
so it's not a
actually
bad
good
thing. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
I
thing.
think the point was to get to the authentic part. I think the biggest part of branding for me, and I think it's the most difficult as well, because if you look at how many brands there are and how many people there are, to be a unique voice, obviously, if you just spoke about like many years ago, even cavemen kind of mimicked each other. So we also mimic each other. So it's hard not to do that in our personal lives and in our business. Because, I'm thinking, okay, how can I be unique? But if you Google this image, like short hair, white guy, average length, blue eyes, beard, you're going to get like millions of people. How am I going to be unique? Now I go and I color my hair pink, but then that's not me. I'm unique, but it's not me. I guess where I'm trying to go with it is another sharp turn back to brands. How do you then, without totally being ridiculous, or going into the brand and just shuffling everything around just for the sake of shuffling it around? How do you go into a brand and make them unique, or get that unique selling proposition out of them, or help them present that in a way that is not so off-brand that people are like, what? Because if you look at Jaguar, their rebrand to me was so off-brand, and I think it put so many people off. At least it put me off, because I was like, you want to wear the tweed suit and kind of take the last puff of your cigar and throw it out, get in your Jag, and then drive through the countryside. The new one is like, you're going to say sorry if you hoot at someone, like, meep, meep. It's
Powerpuff Girls.
it's the two don't mix. But Jaguar was, I think the people were like, how can we stand out? How can we be like super crazy? And they did something super crazy, and it was totally off-brand. Sorry, monologuing again. I need to have a flag, like someone with a flag that says monologuing. Stop monologuing.
We've got a few questions here, so I'm going to answer like the three that I could tell from what you were.
Okay. That you could infer. Okay.
That I could infer, yeah. So first one is how can how do we make it less icky? Like, I think you've pointed it out in a couple of different ways, and
yeah,
there's two ways that I intertwine, right? One is we have fun with the process, right? It is supposed to be enjoyable, regardless whether it's a business or it's a person. It's about you. It's about why you went into this. You know, just talking about that and pulling on the different strings. And that is the second part, is like going deep. So a lot of the people, in the testimonials, etc., they'll be like, okay, this isn't easy. It's hard. We get really deep. We get uncomfortable. And, it's almost like brand therapy.
Yeah. Right? Shining a light in their eyes. Why? Why are you selling these chocolates? Tell me. Well,
I like to say it's like you're going down the rabbit hole and you're pulling on like all these different strings, because you have to go past that first initial answer, right? So if you're looking at this at home and you've got a notebook in front of you, and you're questioning, okay, like what does my voice look like? What would what appeals to me? What do I stand for? Go beyond that first one. Ask why. Why? Say, for example, in your slide that you showed me earlier, at the very bottom, the paragraph was, you want to create impact. Yeah. So my first question there would be, what do you mean by impact?
Yeah.
Right.
Should I answer that or not?
And then we can talk about Jaguar after this.
Okay, yes, because I'm very passionate about the Jaguar rebrand. Jaguar. Jaguar.
Jaguar.
Jaguar. Okay. No, the reason I want to create impact is I think impact to me means not leaving a space the same way you found it, or leaving it better, not worse. And that could be a mental space, it could be a physical space. Impact is going in and making people think. Simon Sinek had an interview with Craig Rochelle, two very cool podcasters, influential people, leaders. I follow their voices. And he said he challenges people to not explain what they do. So usually at a party when you're bored, you go, oh, so what do you do? And then people say, okay, I'm an accountant. And you immediately then open a file in your head for that person, saying, okay, he's an accountant. He's probably this. He said he explained what he does or what problem he solves. And that changed everything. And I actually tried that. So I didn't say I'm in marketing or I'm in brand strategy. I didn't say that. I used a weird phrase, and then we spoke for half an hour with like two people, because he kept on asking me questions, and I was like, wow, this actually changes it. So yes, short answer, impact is going in, saying something or adding value to that space and leaving it better when I go. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense, and it clarifies that word impact. So I would highly encourage to change that up. Or what a great way for listeners to look at this would be to put whatever description, content, etc. that you have, put it into AI and tell it to either remove, call out, or replace any subjective value words. So basically, like the subjective words which could mean anything to anyone.
Okay, that's a good challenge.
So words like impact, results, what do results mean? Like those kinds of words are dangerous to put into content, because everybody's going to either be like, oh, okay, like, the same thing again.
Yeah.
Or they're going to see it maybe in a different way that you see it.
Yeah.
Right. And then there'll be the misunderstanding when you do finally get to that conversation later on. And what I mean was value judgment words, not subjective value words.
Okay.
I was like, I forgot the wording for that. But
I honestly didn't know the difference. I don't know the difference. So I'm going to be completely honest. So I'll go and Google them afterwards, both of those words and what they mean. But I understand what you mean. Saying these empty words like impact sounds powerful to us, and it looks powerful on a website. We sell tractors and we want to make impact. Do you want to make impact on the ground? That's cool. Or in people's lives. So yes, it's a good challenge. Very good challenge.
So a good example of this impact is Hiroshima versus changing the revenue. What kind of impact is it? Because they're both impact.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. I love it.
You want to make sure your words are not subjective. They're very much objective. So you want people to have a clear understanding.
Yeah.
And on to Jaguar. So I know that, like, we were talking about this in the last call, right? And there is just so much ridiculousness. Like, a lot of people think, it's because they didn't put the car, or like they change the fonts or the color. Like, to me, it's not about that. It's they completely let go of who they are, that essence. What the entire start of this conversation that we were talking about, building that essence, they let go of that, right? And it's basically destroying all that built up trust over decades overnight, and just for like a quick hype. And that's why, you know, I highly encourage people not to just put out opinions just for the sake of putting out opinions and stirring up shit. Like, that overnight virality, unless there's like a basis behind it, something that's going to be consistently there, is just going to be that. People will keep moving on. Like, same as with wars. So I left Southeast Asia, I left Myanmar because of the military coup. And that was in the news during that time, maybe a month afterwards. And it's no longer in the news. But it's still going. It's still getting worse.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because it's not a sensation anymore.
Our minds keep on moving to the next thing. Same thing with putting out content. You know, if you want to, whatever you want to post up, it doesn't really matter if you fuck up, because can you really remember the post that was 5 posts ago? What did they say? Do you remember? I don't.
Nah. Yeah. I think so the big thing here for me that stands out for people, so the whole idea behind the guy doing things is to challenge myself, but not just to challenge myself for the sake of being viral. Okay, I do want to do cool stuff, and maybe it'll be nice to be viral, but that's not the idea. The idea is to actually inspire people to also go and take action. Don't go and eat like a vegan for a month if you don't want to, but go and do something that scares you. And the consistency, the reason I'm bringing that up is the posting for the sake of being viral, or now we use hashtags, now we don't. Now we post square, now we don't. Now we do reels, now we do short reels, now we do long reels. Now we do captions, now we don't. The consistency is lacking, and I think that's, you also mentioned trust. So whether it's personal or not, I think consistency is the winner of the day, to me. And if that's something that I can take out of the whole thing that you said, was if Jaguar did that with the cars, it's fine. But if there was some consistency behind it, because the flash in the pan, no one even thinks about Jaguar anymore now. I think I don't. And people who don't care about brand think about it way less than I thought. I had sleepless nights over this rebrand, really. But when I showed it to my wife, she's like, "Oh, that's ugly." And then she went on. She forgot about the whole Jaguar thing, where if people who show up consistently and whether they, I think, do change your hair, change it to pink, but just be consistent about your values and be like, okay, remember when like 5 years ago I changed my hair pink? I thought about that and that and that, but now I think about it in this way. But from 5 years back up until now, you at least did consistent stuff. I think you're gonna color your hair pink now for season 3, are you?
I really want to now.
I planted the seed to get viral.
Exactly.
Do pink hair.
I've been pink before, except it doesn't last very long. But look, to double down on that, I'm not just saying this for the sake of saying like, oh, don't like, they fucked up, right? There are ways that I see that they could have done differently.
Yeah.
And that would be, if they really wanted to take this route, because I get it, right? Their sales were dropping. Okay. So if they want to be focused on Gen Alpha, Gen X, and take this new route, Do a sub-brand. Don't destroy your original brand.
Yeah.
Right? Another way is take mini pivots. Look to influencers or people who have influence right now, because it's the human side that really stands out, and work with them to promote the car using language that is relevant now, but it's still in tune with that original vibe that, like,
there's still a bit of badass. Yes. I'm drinking out of a Stanley cup, and I think this is where I kind of want to land it. Not because it's not fun, but we can talk for hours. Maybe we'll do a follow-up episode, or I'll just go on your podcast. But I'm drinking out of a Stanley cup. This is like, you can see the dents on it. This is just a pure black Stanley cup. But if you mention Stanley on social media now, what are you going to think about? If you think about the Stanley brand, I'm putting you on the spot now. It doesn't matter what your answer is. It can be wrong. But if you think about a Stanley cup, what do you think of?
So there is a right or wrong answer. Damn it.
If it's wrong, I'll edit it out. I'll just cut and then AI your voice to say the right answer, okay?
I mean, I've said enough at this point for AI to just be like, I got you. Let's go.
Yeah.
So in terms of Stanley Cups, I never actually really followed them that much. I know that they were very smart in terms of their move to pick up something that was dying in the market.
Yeah.
So similar to like what we were talking about with Jaguar, right? Like,
yeah,
it was dying, but Stanley made the right move and
yes,
working with people to bring that human side. Like, okay, how can we see this in a day-to-day? And they leveraged certain brands, like the certain influencers. Okay, hey, this person is using this, I should have one as well.
Yeah.
Oh, like, it's become a collection thing. So it's almost like, you're collecting jewelry bags. Like, it's an accessory, right?
And
so
I think
what they did really well was they kind of repositioned it.
Yes.
To be relevant.
And the core there, and I think this is what I want to take from the whole chat. We can talk about brand and rebrand and why we do brands and what's the essence and, looking at a mirror and stuff like that. The core essence was Stanley makes cups, or they make devices that hold things inside and either keeps them very cold or keeps them very hot. That's the essence of it. The vehicle for 100 years was, it's a green cup, it's a black cup, or it's a white cup. That's it. That's what you get. And then they kind of like took this little thing, blew it up, made it bright pink, bright orange, and gave it to influencers who also drink water. We all drink water, or we all drink coffee. And they just said, we're still making a device that keeps something cold that should be cold, or that keeps something hot that should be hot. And I think the shift is radical. I wouldn't drink out of a pink sippy cup, but my wife will, and the teenagers in school will. So Stanley was just smart in terms of that, and they didn't lose the essence. And I think that's what everything is about. If I can leave one wise word outside, is stick to the essence, or find the essence and then stick to it. Now that I've said mine, is there anything like a life lesson or one phrase that you want to leave with the people listening to motivate and inspire them to go out and do things?
Question the unwritten. Question the things that it's always been done. Or, say for example, if we're going back to Stanley Cups, right? They could have kept it like that. It's just like this is what it is, right? This is a glass.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help you stand out. So question these unwritten rules, because that is what's going to help you stand out. It's going to help you lean into what your voice is, what your value is, what direction you want to take with life. Because there is so much that we've been taught that's become like unwritten rules that we have to follow. And it's enforced by society. You know, it's not like a teacher behind us going all the time, no, you have to do this, you have to do this. No, it's everybody going, oh, you know, why don't you get that job and stay like with a safe and secure income? Then you can do what you want. Or why haven't you had like that kid yet? Why are you not married yet? Like all of these are unwritten rules that are just enforced by other people. Yeah.
And it sometimes just pressures us to do things that's not authentic or that doesn't stick to the essence of who we are.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Beatrice. I appreciate your time. I'm sure everyone listening also did. If they want to know more about you, where would they go? What do they put into Google? How do they find you?
There is the podcast, which is The Art of Branding. And in detail for tips and tricks in terms of your business and standing out, there is the Badass Mob newsletter, which you can access from badasserybyb.com. Otherwise, you can stalk me on Instagram and LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I'm like stupidly active on, like potentially addicted to. And I'm sure you'll be able to find all these links in the show notes.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Beatrice. I will have a chat again. Have a good evening. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
And here are the bloopers. And we're recording, so now I'm absolutely not nervous.
So, are we going to have bloopers? Is this a blooper?
I will, for this episode, I'll include bloopers in the end.
Yes.
I'm going to do my intro. Are you ready?
Ready. Power Rangers. Power up.
Oh, that's a good intro. Hello, everyone. This is Beatrice.
Well, there is a few ways to reach out. Depends on your sense of favor. Favor? No. You know, your hearing, seeing, what, you know. I'm just like... I had such a great line there, and then it went downhill.